Let us discuss similar work normally mentioned in pre-qualification of tenders. So, of that contract we will discuss similar work provisions. Normally, similar work means it means a work which has similarity in the majority of the scope, activities, operations, skill, ability, knowledge, and the responsibilities involved in it. So, therefore, this is the work of similar nature. But please remember, similar work is not the same work, hence will not match to the work for which bids are invited. Similar work is required, that is the work which has already been completed. Therefore, the work which has been completed and the work which is to be taken up, these may not most of the times be same. Similar work for a particular work is as defined in the tender documents. It means once it has been defined in the tender document, that becomes the similar work. This may be different from one tender to another tender. That's why, because there is no standard definition of the similar work which can be taken. Normally, provisions of manual or guidelines issued by an organization are considered, and then the provisions are made for defining a similar work. Let us again remember that once it has been defined in the tender documents, it has to be considered accordingly. But it is to be ensured that it does not raise objection later on, so that the tendering procedure is not to be changed or withdrawn. Let us discuss what is the purpose of similar work definition or similar work inclusion in the eligibility criteria. Purpose of inclusion of similar work in an eligibility criteria is to select a contractor who has experience in construction activities similar to what we want, what the work requires for which tenders are being invited. Therefore, the purpose cannot be said to include time, as the time is not considered by the organizations in works contract. Therefore, you will see that time is not included wherever the similar work is defined, whether work was completed in X time or Y time or Z time. It is just said that during so many years the works completed. That's all. Let us first discuss area or number of stories. Suppose the building is to be constructed having area of 50,000 square meter plinth area. Now the question is, should we define similar work based on plinth area or built up area or whatever it is? And suppose it is defined based on plinth area or built up area, say building having plinth area of 40,000 square meter, whether the purpose is fulfilled. Now, suppose the building proposed is 20 stories and the contractor having completed 40,000 square meter plinth area or built up area, whatever is defined, has executed only two-storied building. Now, does he has experience of executing similar work, because that is 20 stories and he has executed the buildings of only two-storied or say three or four-storied. So these two works cannot be said to be a similar work, and therefore the same experience which he has in execution of two-story building cannot be said to be equal to requirement of 20 stories. So even if only if we are saying that plinth area or built up area has been included in the similar work definition, that may not be enough. So it means plinth area, not only plinth area but number of stories are also important. Now let us see basement provision or work without basement. Suppose again same, a contractor has executed a building with 40,000 square meter and 15 stories. And so can we say that he has executed similar work? Suppose the building required what we want of 50,000 square meter, that is with the basement construction. Suppose it is planned with three basements or two basement or one basement. And suppose the building which a contractor has executed in the past has not done any basement work, but the basement is a special work which require the experience of basement construction. So then should we consider that it is a similar work? That is again a question mark. And suppose this building which is proposed as three basement, so one basement will be sufficient because what we want is the experience of basement only. So whether when he is considered when he has executed single basement work, then maybe that he can execute three basement works also. So that may be enough. Now let us see some other components. There may be large components as we know in a work like HVAC, DG set, lifts, UPS, electric substation equipment, EI works, facade, stone work, some road work, etc. Should we include all of them in defining a similar work? Then we may not get any even enough contractors in that case. Means no competition or very little competition, which is against the spirit of transparency and competitiveness. So we cannot include all the things in the definition of similar works. We are to have cut off somewhere. Now let us discuss number of similar works, because this number of similar works are included in even CBC guidelines. Then how many works are to be asked having been executed in the past? If the contractor has experience of executing one work, is it enough? Probably yes. Then if a contractor has executed two similar works or three similar works, what should be the criteria of similar work? Then should we relate number of works and cost criteria? That is also to be seen. And as you know that CVC guidelines say that three similar works of 40% of estimated cost, two similar works of 60% estimated cost, and one similar work of having estimated cost of 80%. Now, idea behind such provisions may be that if a contractor has executed one work of about 80% cost, it means he can take up the higher cost of work, and that may be this work, considering rate of inflation and experience into etc. But the question is whether experience of one bigger work is equivalent to two or three smaller works. That is to be seen. And suppose two smaller works are there of 60%. Does it mean that the same experience can be considered for single work? Let us discuss again. Suppose a building of 50,000 square meters is to be constructed having three basements with full structural glazing, having provision of HVAC, DG set, lifts, etc., etc., firefighting, fire detection, furniture, and so this is supposed say proposed as 3D plus D plus 20 stories. Now, suppose the estimated cost of the building is 300 crores. Now, any building with similar provision will cost around 300 crores only, particularly if the cost is being upgraded to present level with some weightage factor as it is seen in some of the NITs or some tender documents. It is allowed. So then in that case that similar work will always cost 300 crores. It means what we are saying is that one similar work may cost 80% or more. Yes, that is okay. Suppose only one work has been done by the contractor in the past, then it may cost 80% or more. But two similar works will never cost around 60%. They are really similar works, then they will never cost 60%. They will cost 80%, 90%, or maybe 100%. Similarly, three similar works will never cost around 40%. So when such conditions may occur, and this provision is to be kept of 1, 2, 3, and similar works, then similar work is to be defined with less provisions or low height or less plinth area naturally. Otherwise, that will not be compatible. So it means that plinth area of two or three works cannot be compared with one work. So number of stories will be less. so they cannot match sometimes. So, if criteria 1, 2, 3 works is to be included, then plinth area cannot be included in similar work definition. So, that should not be done. Otherwise, there will be no compatibility. And this, number of stories also that criteria is basically to ensure experience of say stuttering required or in the work and experience of stuttering and materials management for lifting. So even if the number of stories which we want is not same, the experience that may be considered. So hence lower storage can be stipulated and which lifts will be required. So that criteria is to be kept. Then it may not be possible that many contractors having executed all the works like HVAC lift, DG set, rainwater harvesting, facade, etc., say stone work, and it means some option is required to be given. So in case a contractor has executed major works, then small works he can complete. So all even a small work they need not to be included in the similar work definition. So even they are included in new proposed work. So it's not necessary that all the works or all the subworks are to be included in the definition of similar work. So suppose in case a contractor has executed HVAC work, then even we can consider that if he has not executed the work of DG set, then he can even purchase it. Hence, while defining similar work, intent has to be seen. That is important. It is not that the same similar means everything similar, but intent has to be seen, and accordingly, similar work is to be defined. In case cost is defined like 80%, 60%, and 40% for 1, 2, and 3 works, then other provisions must be compatible to these costs. Otherwise, there will be mismatch, and we will see that we have included this provision of 80, 60 and 40, and no work is really, if similar work is very rigid, then no work will be qualifying for 40, 60, rather that will be too high, and then those will be qualifying for more than 80 only. So intent should be got suitable, intent is to be seen, and the contractors should be capable of executing the work. That is important. Intent is that we select the contractors who are capable of executing the work and have a similar experience. Capable means neither the similar work definition should be too harsh, so this criteria should not be too harsh, and it should not be too easy that everybody comes and then the employer face the problem. So accordingly, then similar work needs to be defined. Thank you very much. I'm KM Soni, ADG retired. Thanks a lot.